If you struggle with shyness or social anxiety, check out our free No BS training course with actual useful advice you can do from home. None of that just get out there nonsense. The link is in the description below. For now, let's get to today's question.
It gets in the way of everyday life, but can be treated by rationalizing negative thoughts which circulate throughout the brain, such as they think I'm stupid or I'll make a fool of myself. 3 years ago I was on my way to a party. There would be drinks, music and good people. It should have been fun. But I didn't feel excited. I felt sick. Full source, From Lonely to Social Life in 27 Days. Eva battled social anxiety disorder since the age of 15. The main problem was that I didn't know what I was dealing with, and I thought I was the only one. By definition, it's a disorder in which a person has an excessive fear of social situations. Although I personally prefer my own definition, the idea of social gatherings or being the center of attention makes a person feel sick with dread. Convinced they're going to make a fool of themselves, be judged negatively by others, or have a massive freakout that results in a heart attack. The physical symptoms are the most devastating: blushing, sometimes for no reason, shaking, sweating and stuttering, to name a few. If someone merely said my name, I would turn the color of an angry tomato and not understand why. Julia Sheeran, a British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy counselor working in Cardiff, said social anxiety tends to begin in childhood or teenage years but can continue into adulthood. Social anxiety disorder gets in the way of everyday life, describes Sheeran. It is a really intense fear, and it's outside the realms of what people expect from levels of anxiety. Shy and quiet are words often used to describe those who suffer from it, but the truth is much more devastating. People who have social anxiety don't want it any more than someone who has flu. It's not a choice, it just happens. But a few months ago, as I confidently gave a presentation in front of 200 people, something I never thought I could do, I knew that all the effort had been worth it. My case of undiagnosed social anxiety is definitely one of the milder ones, but I do have a story pretty much exactly following your question. One of my friends was having a birthday party. It wasn't a big one. I think there were only about 8 people there. All were in my friend's circle except one. I felt a bit uncomfortable with her being there. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with her, just that we didn't run in the same circles, we didn't talk about the same things, but as it was my friend's party, not mine, I didn't really have the right to object. Even now, I feel a bit selfish for wanting that girl not to be there. Sure enough, with her came the boy talk, the makeup, things that, of course, some of my friends, including the birthday girl, were into, but I wasn't. And for the rest of my friends, who I think aren't nearly as socially inept as me, it was okay. If they didn't want to talk about whatever one half of the group was discussing, they just made another conversation. Unfortunately, for me, it wasn't that easy. I didn't feel comfortable joining either conversation, and I spent a lot of that night just listening to other people talk. Side tangent, I think that Eva always been a bit removed from the rest of the group, probably due to exactly that problem. If we don't talk, we'll never get close. Looking back now, I sort of wish that I had gone to a different high school, the one that my middle school friends, a much closer group of just 3, had gone to. My social anxiety, unfortunately, also extends to the online sphere, so we're just not that close anymore. To return to the story, as the night went on, I got more and more uncomfortable. I felt more and more left out. I couldn't bring myself into the conversation, and my friends didn't try to help me in. I'm not blaming them. There were multiple conversations going on at once, and I doubt they even realized I wasn't a part of any of them. I don't think they even know I have issues with anxiety. I certainly have never told them anything about it. For this to make sense, I want to add that we were spending the evening at a shopping/food/etc. area, and we had been roaming around, taking pictures and eating cupcakes. It was a sleepover, and we were all going back to the birthday girl's house once we had had our fill. We waited at a grocery store for her parents to pick us up. They decided to go into the store to take more pictures for the aesthetic, something else I didn't really get. I'd already been suppressing the urge to cry for a while, and I suppose at that point everything that had been building up just became too much. I started crying, and I called my parents to take me home. Of course, being the bitchy person that I am when grumpy, I just had to mutter, "Are you fucking kidding me?" when they mentioned aesthetic, and one of my friends heard. Luckily for me, they're nice people, and no one went ballistic or anything. And they worried over me when I started crying. Unfortunately, being in the moment prevented me from really thinking about it. So I didn't really have a proper answer to what's wrong until I talked through it with my mom at 2 in the morning. Once or twice. For anxious or sensitive people, the sense of obligation to broadcast exaggerated happiness at parties can be a real downer. I find people often target quiet or reserved people at parties to hide their own insecurity. The multitude of faces and names and complex social dynamics is a stressful thing. Imagine 30 complex adults crammed into a small dimly lit terraced house, conversation inhibited by loud music. Alcohol and drugs in abundance bringing out the dark inner worlds of the attendants. This sort of event caters to a particular kind of person's needs. No shame in walking out crying if that's not you, haha. I can't even go to parties. However, I do have bad anxiety, which ended up with me having to walk away from everyone just after my mom got married last year and having to have someone calm me down because I was crying too much, and not from excitement or happiness. Just anxiety from being around everyone. It wasn't even a big wedding. There was only close family and friends, but because I didn't know my stepdad's part of the family hardly at all, it caused me to stress out to the max. The icing on the cake, which finally settled the waterworks, was when everyone was looking at me when my mom was trying to bring me to her for a picture, but no way in hell was I going to stand in front of everyone for a picture with them all looking at me. It's nearly been a year, and whenever the wedding is brought up, it's guaranteed that they're going to mention the fact that they have no pictures of me. That has to be one of the worst times last year, considering that I was going to be forced to wear tights. I have intense sensory issues, which also caused a meltdown in the middle of town, causing social anxiety's dirty head to rear up viciously. Don't worry though, haha. My mom let me wear my leggings and high top shoes and said she was proud that it even managed to find a dress with a comfortable material I could wear for her.